There's something most people completely overlook when it comes to creating mind-blowing intimacy. It's not about some secret move or technique that nobody else knows. It's about understanding how the mind plays an even bigger role than the body. The truth is, the experience starts long before anything physical ever happens. Anticipation is the first and most powerful tool you have. It's where everything begins, where desire starts to build, and where you create the kind of tension that makes every moment afterward feel 10 times more intense. The biggest mistake people make is rushing. They move too fast. They're too eager to get to the destination, forgetting that the journey is where all the magic is. When you slow down, when you take your time, you allow his mind to fully engage. His thoughts start racing, his imagination starts filling in the gaps, and that creates a buildup of desire that no amount of technique can replicate. Think of it as setting the stage. You want to create an atmosphere where every second feels loaded with potential. That energy is electric, and he feels it before you've even touched him. You can start with something as simple as your presence. The way you carry yourself, the way you look at him, the subtle hints you drop in your behavior. Eye contact is one of the most powerful tools you have. Not the kind of eye contact that's casual or fleeting, but the kind that holds him for just a moment longer than usual. That moment tells him everything he needs to know. It says, you're confident, you're intentional, and you know exactly what you're about to do. That glance alone starts building the heat. Your voice also plays a part. The tone you use, the softness of your words, even the pauses between them. Speaking a little slower, lowering your voice just slightly, creates an intimate space where his attention narrows completely onto you. It's not about saying something wildly seductive or rehearsed. It's about the delivery. The way you speak can be just as enticing as anything physical. You're drawing him in, inviting his mind to wander, giving him permission to feel the growing tension. Then comes the touch. But even here, you're not rushing. Your touch is light, almost teasing. You might let your fingers trail along his arm, across his chest, down his stomach, barely brushing his skin. This kind of touch is deliberate. It's not designed to satisfy him in that moment, but to ignite a craving. Each light touch is like adding fuel to a fire that's slowly starting to burn. The less you give, the more he wants. You're teaching his body to respond to every small gesture, heightening his sensitivity with every second that passes. Breath is another layer to anticipation that people rarely think about. The warmth of your breath on his skin, especially when combined with close proximity, can send shivers through his body. You might bring your face close to him, letting your breath dance across his skin without making contact. That sensation alone can create a surge of excitement that's almost unbearable. You're so close, yet still holding back, and that gap between what he wants and what you're giving him becomes almost intoxicating. Even the way you position yourself matters. Sitting or kneeling slowly, making deliberate movements, creates a visual experience for him. Men are highly visual, and watching you take your time, seeing your intention in every movement, adds another layer to the build-up. You're not just arriving at the moment, you're making an entrance. Every second you take is adding another layer of anticipation that his mind is eagerly processing. At this stage, his focus is entirely on you. His breathing starts to shift, his muscles tighten slightly, his senses heighten. Every nerve in his body is waiting, ready, hyper-aware of what might come next. This is the power of anticipation. You've taken control of his experience before you've even truly begun. His mind is already overwhelmed with desire, and that makes every touch, every movement you make afterward feel exponentially more intense. The foundation you've built with anticipation makes even the simplest actions feel amplified. You haven't just prepared him physically, you've primed his entire nervous system to respond to you. One of the most underestimated elements when it comes to giving unforgettable pleasure is how you integrate your hands. A lot of people get so focused on using their mouth that they forget their hands are right there, capable of completely transforming the entire experience. The real secret is not to think of your hands and mouth as two separate things, but to think of them as a team working in perfect harmony. When your hands and mouth are synced, you create a level of stimulation that overwhelms his senses in the best possible way. When you begin, your hands set the tone. The way you touch him, how you hold him, how you guide the experience with your grip, all of it matters. You can start with a gentle caress, letting your fingers explore the areas around him first. This kind of light, exploratory touch keeps his mind engaged, wondering where you're going next. It's not about grabbing or rushing, but about establishing a rhythm of intimacy. Every soft stroke of your fingertips communicates attention, desire, and control. As you move into more direct contact, the way you hold him can have a powerful psychological effect. A firm but gentle grip gives him a sense of security while also signaling your confidence. Your hand can control the pace, the depth, and even subtly adjust the angle. When your hand wraps around him, it becomes a source of warmth and pressure that enhances everything your mouth is doing. The key is consistency in your grip, matching the rhythm you're creating with your mouth so that every stroke works together seamlessly. Now comes the real magic, the combination of movements. Your mouth focuses on one area while your hand takes care of the rest. This dual sensation creates a layered experience for him. As you focus your mouth on the tip, applying gentle suction or tracing patterns with your tongue, your hand can glide smoothly along the shaft, maintaining a steady rhythm that amplifies the sensations he's feeling. This pairing ensures that no part of him is left unattended, which keeps his pleasure at a constant peak. The pressure you apply with your hand can be adjusted depending on how responsive he is. Start lighter and gradually increase as you sense his reactions. A tighter grip at the right moment can drive him closer to the edge, while a softer touch can draw things out and keep him floating in that perfect zone of pleasure. Pay attention to his breathing, the way his body moves, and how his muscles tense. These are your cues to know when to build intensity and when to ease off. Your hands also allow you to explore areas that your mouth can't reach simultaneously. You can use your free hand to gently cup or massage other sensitive areas, adding another layer of stimulation that intensifies his overall experience. This multidimensional approach keeps his mind constantly engaged as he's processing multiple sensations at once, each one enhancing the others. The unpredictability keeps him on edge, heightening both his arousal and his connection to you. Synchronization is key. Your mouth and hands should move in harmony, creating a rhythm that feels natural and fluid. This doesn't mean you need to stick to a single rhythm throughout. In fact, alternating between slow, teasing strokes and more deliberate, intense movements creates contrast that drives him wild. The variety prevents his body from adapting too quickly, which means every new movement feels fresh and stimulating. Texture matters too. The softness of your lips combined with the warmth and slight friction of your hand creates a contrast that adds depth to the sensation. You can enhance this even more by using a little lubrication, making sure your hand glides smoothly without any unwanted resistance. The goal is to create a continuous, fluid experience where no single sensation feels disconnected from the others. The positioning of your hand can also influence the experience. Sometimes holding him at the base provides stability and allows you to control the depth and motion of your mouth more easily. Other times, letting your hand move in sync with your mouth, following the same upward and downward motion, creates a wave-like effect that feels completely enveloping. Both techniques have their place, and switching between them keeps him guessing and fully immersed. Your hands are not just tools. They are an extension of your attention, your confidence, and your desire. When you use them deliberately, with intention and care, you create an experience that doesn't just feel good physically, but resonates on a much deeper level. The combined sensation of your mouth and hands working together is something that will stay with him long after the moment has passed. One of the most seductive elements of intimacy comes from mastering pace and rhythm. This is where the real art lies, because it's not simply about what you're doing, but how you're doing it. Most people make the mistake of finding one rhythm that works and sticking to it the entire time. While that can feel good for a short while, the body quickly adapts, and what once felt exciting starts to feel predictable. Predictability dulls excitement. What keeps him fully immersed, what keeps his senses on edge, is variety. The unexpected. The changes in speed, pressure, and motion that keep him constantly guessing what's coming next. When you begin, start slow. A gentle, deliberate pace sets the tone. Slowness allows him to feel every movement more intensely. His mind locks onto each stroke, each swirl of your tongue, each subtle shift in your motion. The slow pace builds suspense. It allows desire to rise in layers rather than spiking too soon. His body becomes hypersensitive because you're giving it time to process every small sensation. This gradual build-up is what makes the faster moments later feel so explosive. You're teaching his body to crave more with every slow, intentional motion. As you continue, begin to introduce changes. These changes don't have to be dramatic. They can be subtle at first. Slightly increasing the speed, adding a bit more pressure with your mouth or your hand, shifting your angle just a bit so he feels a different part of your lips or tongue. Even these small variations can send new waves of pleasure through him because you're activating different nerve endings, introducing fresh sensations that his body isn't fully used to yet. Once he starts to settle into the new rhythm, that's your cue to switch again. This constant alternation prevents him from getting too comfortable. You want him living in a state of suspense, never quite sure what's about to happen next. This unpredictability keeps the experience fresh, engaging, and overwhelmingly pleasurable. It's not about overwhelming him with speed or intensity. It's about controlling his build-up, keeping him on a tightrope of anticipation and satisfaction. Speed isn't the only variable. The pressure you apply with your lips, tongue, and hand plays a massive role. Light, barely there touches can make him hyper-aware of every movement. Gentle teasing strokes, where your mouth is just grazing him, can drive him wild because you're giving him just a taste and making him crave the full sensation. Then, as he starts to yearn for more, you increase the pressure. A firmer grip, stronger suction, deeper strokes all add to the rising intensity. It's this constant push and pull that creates a powerful emotional and physical response. Timing is crucial. If you go too fast too soon, you rob him of the slow climb that makes the peak feel so much higher. If you stay too slow for too long, you risk losing momentum. The key is reading his body, his breathing, the way his muscles tighten, the small sounds he makes, all tell you exactly when to shift gears. Listen closely to these signals. They're your roadmap. The more attuned you are to his responses, the more perfectly you can time each change in rhythm and pace. The pauses are just as important as the movements themselves. Brief moments where you stop completely, hold him gently, and let the air hang heavy with anticipation can be incredibly powerful. These pauses give him a moment to process the sensations, to feel the desire building even higher. When you resume, even if you pick up right where you left off, it feels new again because of that tiny break. You're resetting his sensory expectations, keeping him engaged and fully in the moment. You can also play with the depth of your movements. Alternating between shallow, teasing motions and deeper, more intense strokes keeps the experience dynamic. The shallow strokes tease him, keeping him eager and on edge. The deeper movements deliver a burst of satisfaction that only makes him want more. This variation in depth adds another layer of complexity to the rhythm you're creating, making the experience feel fuller and more immersive. The way you combine all these elements, speed, pressure, depth, and pauses, creates a symphony of sensation that feels completely consuming for him. You're not just stimulating him physically, you're taking control of his entire experience. His mind, body, and emotions are all tied up in the rhythm you're orchestrating. The unpredictability keeps his adrenaline high, his focus locked onto you, and his pleasure building with each shift in your technique. When it comes to creating an unforgettable experience, the secret often lies in your attention to sensitivity. Every man has areas that are more responsive, more delicate, and more charged with nerve endings that, when stimulated correctly, can send waves of pleasure through his entire body. The difference between good and extraordinary is often found in how well you understand and work with these sensitive spots. This is not about rushing to the finish line, but about exploring every small reaction, every tiny shift in breath or movement, and knowing how to turn that into fuel for the experience you're building together. The tip of his manhood is one of the most sensitive areas, packed with nerve endings that respond to even the lightest touch. Starting here allows you to instantly tap into a source of immense pleasure, but the key is subtlety. You don't need intense pressure to make an impact. Sometimes the gentlest touch of your tongue gliding around the edge, the lightest swirl over the head, can ignite sensations that feel far stronger than any aggressive movement ever could. Your lips can softly envelop the tip, creating a warm, wet seal that delivers both comfort and arousal in one perfect combination. Right beneath the tip lies the frenulum, a small band of tissue that is extraordinarily sensitive. This spot often gets overlooked, but paying attention to it can completely shift the intensity of the moment. You can gently focus your tongue here, tracing light circles or applying tiny flicks that make him feel like you're speaking directly to his most sensitive nerve endings. Varying the pressure while you stimulate this spot allows you to experiment and see how his body responds. Sometimes just a few moments of focused attention here can make him visibly shudder with pleasure. Moving lower along the shaft, the underside remains another highly responsive area. The skin here tends to be softer and thinner, meaning it can pick up even the most delicate sensations. Letting your tongue trail slowly along this path while your hand maintains a steady rhythm higher up creates a contrast in sensations that keeps him fully engaged. You're stimulating him in two different ways at the same time, making every second feel richer, fuller, and more intense. This layering of pleasure works on both a physical and psychological level, overwhelming his senses in a way that leaves him completely immersed. Beyond the obvious areas, don't underestimate the power of indirect stimulation. The inner thighs, lower abdomen, and hips are often surprisingly responsive, especially when they are approached with light, teasing touches. Your hands or lips softly exploring these areas can build his arousal without even touching his most sensitive parts directly. This teasing approach creates a hunger in him, a desire that grows stronger with every soft, intentional touch. The more you delay direct contact, the more sensitive he becomes when you finally focus your attention where he wants it most. Breath can also become a tool of incredible precision. Letting your breath wash over these sensitive spots without making contact creates a sensation that feels like anticipation wrapped in warmth. His skin reacts to the temperature difference, the promise of touch without the immediate fulfillment. This delicate game of proximity keeps him fully locked into the experience, waiting for each next move with heightened awareness. His focus is entirely on you, on your every movement, every breath, every subtle shift in position. Small changes in texture add even more variety. The softness of your lips compared to the wet glide of your tongue, or the warmth of your breath against cool air, creates contrasts that keep his nerve endings firing. These slight shifts prevent his body from becoming too accustomed to one particular sensation, allowing you to continuously surprise him. Even the tiniest flick of your tongue or change in suction can reignite sensations and keep the intensity building without needing to escalate speed or pressure. Your sensitivity to his reactions is what allows you to navigate these hotspots with precision. Every breath he takes, every involuntary twitch of his muscles, every sigh or moan gives you real-time feedback. When you see his breathing catch or his hips shift slightly towards you, you know you found a place that resonates deeply. You can lean into those responses, exploring them further, amplifying the sensation with gentle persistence until you've unlocked a level of pleasure that feels entirely consuming. This constant reading of his body allows you to stay one step ahead, adjusting your focus and technique in real time. You're not just mechanically stimulating him, you're tuning into him, creating a personal, intimate exchange that feels tailored exactly to his needs. This level of awareness and precision transforms a physical act into an experience that resonates far beyond the moment, etching itself into his memory as something uniquely powerful. There's a crucial distinction that separates a moment that's physically satisfying from one that becomes unforgettable, and it has nothing to do with skill, technique, or some hidden move. It's about connection. When you make the experience about the two of you, about being fully present, about giving and receiving energy rather than simply performing a task, You create something that lingers in his mind long after the moment is over. Connection transforms the act from something physical into something deeply emotional and intimate. It begins with your mindset. When you approach him with genuine desire, with full attention, with the intention to enjoy the experience as much as he does, everything changes. Your energy is different. He can feel it in your touch, see it in your eyes, hear it in your breath. You're not simply going through the motions, you're completely immersed in the moment with him. That authenticity draws him in and makes him feel wanted, desired, and connected to you in a way that far exceeds any physical stimulation alone. Eye contact plays a powerful role in building this connection. It's not about staring continuously, but using brief, intentional glances that say more than words ever could. Those moments when your eyes meet create an unspoken dialogue, a silent communication that builds intimacy and trust. He sees your confidence, your comfort, your enjoyment, and that allows him to fully relax and surrender to the experience. Those glances anchor him to the moment, grounding him in the shared space you're creating together. Your facial expressions also communicate volumes. A small smile, a playful smirk, a look of satisfaction or pleasure tells him that you're not just doing something for him, you're doing it with him. That shared enjoyment creates a feedback loop where his pleasure feeds yours and vice versa. The experience becomes circular, growing in intensity, because both of you are fully engaged on an emotional level, not just a physical one. Verbal cues enhance this connection even more. Soft moans, whispered words, gentle encouragement. They don't have to be scripted or overly elaborate. The most powerful words are often the simplest. A quiet expression of how much you enjoy pleasing him, a whispered mention of how good he feels, can take the experience to a deeper level. Your voice becomes part of the sensory experience, layering intimacy and emotion over every movement you make. Physical touch outside of the main act further strengthens the sense of connection. Your free hand gently resting on his stomach, caressing his thigh, running up his chest. These touches keep him grounded in your presence. They remind him that this isn't just about one part of his body, but about his entire being responding to you. The warmth of your hand, the softness of your touch, the way your fingers trace his skin, all contribute to the feeling of being cared for, attended to, and deeply desired. Your breathing naturally syncs with his over time, creating a subtle rhythm that pulls you closer together. The rise and fall of your breath can mirror his, allowing your bodies to communicate without words. This unspoken synchronization fosters a sense of unity that's incredibly powerful. It's not something you force, it happens naturally when you're fully present and attuned to each other. Every now and then, pulling back just slightly to read his face, to watch his reactions, to take in the effect you're having on him, adds another layer to the connection. That momentary pause allows both of you to acknowledge the intimacy you're sharing. It's not a break in the experience, but a deepening of it, a moment to feel the emotional undercurrent that's flowing between you. Confidence in these moments doesn't mean being perfect, it means being present, being comfortable, and allowing the experience to unfold organically. When you release the pressure to perform and focus instead on the shared energy, you eliminate self-consciousness and create a relaxed environment where real intimacy can thrive. This presence allows you to adjust naturally to his responses, to shift your movements instinctively based on his breath, his sounds, his body language.